Hello everyone, I am back with another video on the Caroline Flack situation, and today I want to focus on her ex Andrew Brady's statement around the time of her being arrested for attacking Lewis Burton about their relationship, in which he came out and said it was the worst year of his life, it was a very toxic relationship, and leaving was the best thing that could ever have happened to him because it saved his life. And he has also posted several times on Instagram with the hashtag abuse has no gender, and also stated that the truth about her abusive tendencies will come out. So I wanted to focus on that today. And so what I've done is the first row is just asking specifically if she did abuse him, and then the second two rows are her reasoning behind that and what could have gone on in the relationship for her to believe it was acceptable if it happened. So I'm just going to start turning the cards over now. So this is, did she abuse him? Okay. Yes, she definitely did. The Nine of Wands and the Ten of Swords specifically are very, very bad abuse cards. They're like the worst possible kind of abuse. And this guy actually does look a bit like Andrew Brady. And from what I can see here, the Sun card here as well is usually it's very positive, and in this situation it's things being brought to light. And the Ten of Swords is like the worst possible card you can get, because I mean, if you actually look at it, it's a woman who is just absolutely on a rampage and is just wanting to destroy everything in her path. And I do feel like this accurately describes her personality, because on TV she's this cool, infinitely single woman who, in my opinion, was always trying to act younger than she was. And, you know, it's kind of like this was all hidden, you know, from people, what she really is. And the Ten of Swords is someone who wants to hurt you physically and mentally in the worst possible ways. And I feel as though the difference here is what I'm picking up intuitively between Andrew and Lewis is that Andrew was a bit tougher, and he just categorically just didn't want to deal with it, and she made him sign a non-disclosure agreement, and that in itself is suspicious, because why would you want a partner to sign that, you know, if you've got nothing to hide, kind of thing. And it, you know, he actually posted this on his Instagram for people to see, you know, and basically indicating that, you know, things aren't as what they appear. And the Sun, you know, is about revelations here, it's about revealing the truth. But I also feel here, like on this card, you know, the Sun, there's a little child who's innocent, you know, and I feel as though the energy I'm picking up from this is after she'd been abusive, she would start crying and acting like an innocent little child, and this is how she would, you know, coerce people into staying with her or getting back with her, because she would put on this innocence and naivety of a child, and, you know, the typical, oh, I was abused as a child, or I've been through this, I've been through that, etc., etc. You know, it's just really kind of playing the victim. And you know what's really annoying me is that I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say that they're survivors of domestic abuse, but they wouldn't wish this on anyone, and everyone deserves a chance to be heard. And I'm thinking, well, really? Do they? Because I say it as it is, and I don't really care if people don't like it, but my abuser, if he killed himself, I wouldn't feel bad. I would think, oh, God, at least he can't abuse anyone now. And that might be horrible, but after going through that, seeing my mum go through that more than once with different people, I just don't have sympathy for people like her. Now that I feel she was a coward, and she just did it because she knew what she was facing. Her career had gone to shit, and quite rightly, and everything was coming out and it was crumbling beneath her, and she just took the coward's way out. you know? And there's even speculation that she was murdered. She wasn't murdered. She was self-murdered. Her career was murdered by her actions. She did this to herself. And people trying to just talk about irrelevant things like, oh, well, Jamil, everyone's saying she's got Munchausen's, but she's got EDS, blah, blah, blah. It's irrelevant. It's got nothing to do with it at all. Completely irrelevant. It's just, people try to just make excuses for her, and I just don't understand why. If she wasn't as pretty as she was, you know, if she was an unattractive woman who was on TV and she did that, people are gonna react the same. It's just, I'm honestly struggling to understand how people can try and logic their way out of this, logic her reasoning. You know, like, for example, to use an example, even if she felt she was being emotionally neglected, or Lewis was cheating, which wasn't even the case. It was a 60-year-old woman that was texting him because she wanted tennis lessons because he's a tennis coach, does not give her the right to try and cave his head in. And women who say, oh, well, if my boyfriend cheated, I'd hit him over the head with a lamp. Well, that's your issue, and it's quite psychotic, to be honest, to think that way. Just be a grown-up and leave the relationship or confront them. But don't try and kill them when they're asleep. That's just not normal behaviour. You know, and Andrew actually called the police when they were together, and obviously this only got disclosed after they'd broken up because of the NDA. He called the police because after they'd had an argument where she'd been abusive to him and he said he was leaving, she threatened to kill herself. So this is the kind of person that we're dealing with. She's obviously clearly unstable. And, you know, the thing is, would you feel sorry for a murderer because they were unstable and they killed themselves? No, you wouldn't. It's the same thing. It's the same mentality. You know, abuse is one step away from murder, in my opinion, you know. 1 in 3 men are abused and they don't talk about it because of things like this. Because the woman's made out to be the victim and the man started it. Or he deserved it. And it's a joke. It's ridiculous. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to her reasoning behind why she did what she did. Trying to figure out her kind of mentality and why she think it was appropriate to do this to these men. Okay, so the Emperor Reverse, which showed up in last night's reading, is just someone who's very controlling and manipulative, very nitpicky. They like things done a certain way. If people don't abide to the way they want things done, they'll lash out, they'll get manipulative and abusive. I feel like there's jealousy and possessiveness as well with her. Like, say, for example, I mean, both of the, you know, Andrew Brady, he's a little bit more well-known. I think he was in The Apprentice and then Celebrity Big Brother, but if he got attention from women or if he was doing an interview with a woman, she'd get very possessive and jealous and start coming up with these crazy scenarios in her head. You know, and she just took it too far. I mean, the Three of Swords in reverse and the Devil in reverse indicates that there's like some past hurt that she's been dealing with and she's taking it out on these men, but that's not right. You just get help with that. You don't abuse someone because you're feeling crap about yourself. And the Devil in reverse, you know, it shows that she had an awareness of it in this relationship, that she was behaving in a certain way. I'd say more of an awareness with it than with Lewis, but I think that's probably because Andrew didn't stand for her shit and told her, you're being abusive, this behaviour isn't right. And so she had more of an awareness of it. Whereas with Lewis, I feel like he's a little bit more placid, he's a little bit more easygoing, you know, and so he didn't think that it was abuse, whereas I think Andrew, no offense to Lewis, he seems like a very nice guy. Andrew's a little bit more switched on, and he knew what was going on, and that's why they broke up so many times, because every single time it happened, he walked away, and so, the devil in reverse as well is also, she doesn't have as much control over the situation as she would have liked. So yeah, she didn't have as much control as she would have liked, and this really, he kind of stopped it from going too far, but I do feel like there was definite abuse there, physical and mental, emotional violence. And for her, she was convinced that he didn't love her, so in her head, she thought by abusing him, it would keep him closer to her, which is obviously not a normal thought process to have. And it's very, very common with abusers to believe that that's the way to keep someone with you, is to abuse them. It's just beyond me, and people are so willing to kind of say, oh, well, maybe she suffered abuse when she was a child and things like that. Let me tell you this, okay? My ex had a very loving family, very accepting family. They gave him everything he wanted. They didn't abuse him in any way, and he was just a bully, a violent bully, okay? So sometimes it's nothing to do with nurture, it's all nature. And I feel for her, because she'd been in showbiz for so long, she was used to getting what she wanted, so she started getting these violent tendencies, thinking she could get away with it. And I do think, yeah, there probably was some mental health issues there, but it does not excuse abuse, and I'm just sick of people excusing it. Oh, well, it's sad she died. Well, not really. She's been a coward, because that's all she's doing. She just didn't want to face up to the truth of who she was. She wanted to keep up this persona, and she couldn't, because she'd been found out. I do feel with this Two of Swords here, there may be possibly a split personality, but I feel the energy I'm picking up on it was more for her wondering how to deal with this situation with this man, how she should respond to him in order to keep him closer. And star signs, they're not really that big of a factor in it, but the fact that she was a Scorpios are very possessive, and most serial killers are Scorpios, so it tells you everything, really. They can be very controlling, and that they have stalker tendencies. I'm sorry for anyone who's a Scorpio, but my love sign is a Scorpio, and to an extent in the past, I've been a little bit possessive and jealous and things, so I've had experience of it firsthand, but she definitely abused him, and it was like pretty severe. But luckily for him, he's got a very strong mentality that he could deal with it, and he knew when enough was enough every single time. And of course, he's not a bad person. He wanted to give her a chance, and she played this kind of childlike innocence, and it pulled him back in. And then I think the final time it happened, fists were kind of thrown from her, and then, when she threatened to kill herself after this, that's when he ended it completely, because he just couldn't deal with it anymore. And I really, really just want to reiterate that abuse should never be excused, okay? No matter what is going on in your head, how you feel about yourself or about the world, abusing someone, physically hurting someone, or even killing someone in some cases is not an excuse. Get fucking help. Don't take it out on someone else. Being abusive to someone isn't a way to keep them, and if you're worried that they don't love you, then that's obviously a deep-rooted issue within you, and you need to address that in a different way. And I just really wish people could see things for what they really are, instead of what she purported herself to be, which, you know, narcissists and sociopaths are very good at that. They're very good at making you believe that these good, decent people, you know, a lot of the time they're in positions of, you know, celebrity or doctors or judges, you know, or, you know, the celebrities who like have certain causes, but it's all a facade, because inside they're these broken, horrible people that think it's acceptable to abuse others, you know, regardless of what's happened to them as a child. It's not an excuse. I've known plenty of people who were abused as children and they're not abusers now. You know, it's all about not becoming a victim to what happened to you and then creating other victims because of it. Okay, so that's my 2 cents on this today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your comments in advance. If you'd like to like and subscribe, feel free. And I'll be back with another video soon.